Welcome to our home. We are glad to sponsor the 5th in a series of community police forums. And I think that we have, since the last one, we have a new mayor.
Yay.
Right? We have our police chief. And the public defender. And the prosecutor. I'm going to turn it over to Reverend G. Modeli Clark to welcome you. But, you know, again, thank you for coming out. And we want to get started as soon as possible so we can hear from these gentlemen about our police department and the community. Thank you, Rev.
Thank you, Adele. And I'm gonna write a script for you, all about me.
All right.
Introduce me.
Okay.
We want to welcome you again to our. There's some debate whether this is the 5th or 6th forum. You know this for a fact?
Yeah, we have 4 last year and 1 this year.
Okay, you sound very emphatic. I'm going to argue this. But these forums, these community policing forums have been invaluable because it has given us, the community, a chance to be better acquainted with the KPD.
Right.
And to, in some cases, demystify the department, to get to know the, can I say players? Better.
I hadn't called that. First, thank you.
Yeah. And to understand what's happening in our community, because following the rash of civil unrest related to the killings of black men throughout the country, there was some tension here and some apprehension about what prevents Kingston, what are the elements that would prevent Kingston from blowing up, as in Staten Island, in St. Louis, Ferguson, etc. So we approached Chief Tinty and the former Mayor Gallo, and they were very receptive to participating in these community forums. I'm glad that our current mayor, Steve Noble, is on board with this, and Andrew Kosover as our public defender. So we have kind of almost both sides of the coin. Tonight's, I almost said debate.
I don't want to do any more.
Tonight's discussion or forum will center on the use of the body cams that the KPD has acquired. And when I first learned of this, I had a concern. My concern was, how do we know, how reliable, how trustworthy, since this is going to be a human operated, how do we know what we see or what they see is actually what happened? And who has the ability to turn on these cameras or turn them off? So I was concerned about the credibility of not so much the technology, but of the human component of this. So I'm hoping that we can center our discussions around this and any other issues you may have, but to me this is like a real critical piece, because I don't know at what point, but at some point our police officers will be armed with these, not armed, will be fitted with these devices, and we just want to make sure that, because everybody's on television, everybody's got a camera, so I just want to make sure that this works for us, not against us. So I'll start off by asking Chief Tinty to introduce this topic, and I know you have some video that you want to share with us.
All right. I just, before we get started with the presentation, I thought it would be good to give a little bit of background on how we believe we're going to acquire a few of these body cameras, and just to give everyone a sense of the chief and the department has been working over the last year to do some research to develop some of the policies and procedures that he's going to discuss this evening. But as of now, I think we only have 1 or 2 active cameras kind of in a pilot project out in the community. And so we have, and again, you're not going to believe me, but we have had the opportunity to re-look at how we handle dogs in our community. We had our dog control officer leave abruptly this January and resign. And so we're looking at providing those services more cost efficiently to our residents, and through that, we have made a pitch together to the Common Council to hopefully contract with an organization, something like the SPCA, maybe the SPCA, in the near future, to be able to manage our animal control services for the city, while we'll see some substantial savings by doing that. And so we have decided to invest with that extra $30,000 into the purchase of both 7 body cameras, as well as about $15,000 worth of video equipment for the intake lobby area of the police department, where there currently isn't the type of technology that we would want to have there. And so we expect and we hope that the Kingston Common Council will approve that proposal tomorrow night and get to the full council in April, so that we actually have the funds to buy 7 cameras. And the chief will discuss where we think we're going to use these cameras and what this technology is all about. But I just wanted to give folks a sense of where we are and where we hope to go before he gets started. Okay.
I'm ready. I'll pass. Okay, all right. So I'm going to stand up. Okay. I sit all day, so I'm going to stand up. First slide, please. So, body-worn cameras. Body-worn cameras. We currently have at the police department video cameras in our patrol cars. Our cameras right now, I'm going to ask Sergeant Zell to grab the microphone off of his uniform here. This is the microphone that the officers wear that transmits back to the patrol car. You'll see some video in a few slides from now how the camera actually is centered just about where the driver's mirror is in the center of the car, and the video is on. When the officers activate the lights and siren, it turns the camera on. When the officer hits the microphone manually, it turns the camera on. If there's an impact while the car is in motion and it impacts, it will also start the recording. The camera system is designed in the car to always be collecting video and audio. Correction, video. It will, once it's turned on, spool and record that last minute. So for instance, I'm at the intersection and I'm patrolling the city streets. The light on my side turns green, the light on the other side turns red, and a car goes through the intersection. I turn on my lights to pull over that vehicle. Good traffic stop, right, so far? But the camera, the old way, wouldn't have turned on and caught the traffic light, wouldn't have caught the V&T violation. Now, when I turn it on, it actually is always collecting it, so as soon as I hit the lights, that segment of video, that minute, is then recorded. So when I pull the driver over, that interaction and the violation is also recorded. So I want you to understand that video systems for the police department isn't anything new. We have embraced this technology when, and I'm going to date myself, we took a video camera and put it on the dash of a car with bungee cords. That's the kind of video system we had early on, okay? So we've come leaps and bounds. So again, the microphone is on the officer. Right now, they're required to keep that microphone on during any type of call for service. We have had issues where if the officer, and I'm not sure where your vehicle's parked right now, Sergeant, but if he activates the mic, it may be too far from the vehicle. The design of a mobile dash cam is to have the interaction during a traffic stop. So body-worn camera systems are going to allow an officer, and this is just one model that we've looked at for demonstration purposes, this is a self-contained unit. This is the body camera. So it comes with different mounts, it has certain collection systems, it's got a small LCD viewer on the back. This is a good system. It's relatively inexpensive, but there's some drawbacks to this, and I'll explain that in a second. I'm going to pass it around so you can kind of take a look at the technology on it. So what we're doing, police accountability. You've been to the forums before, you know it's about what the police department is accountable for. How do we know, as the Reverend said, how do we know the police department is trustworthy? How do we know they're going to hold their officers accountable for their actions? This helps strengthen that accountability. Talk about resolving officer-involved incidents and complaints. When an officer has a complaint lodged against them, and we've been through the process before, the website has the form. Please, if there's any questions, reach out to my office, or really any community leader has access. It's open. The mayor's office is available as well. Anytime there's an incident or a complaint filed against an officer, body-worn cameras now give the availability for us to review that officer's performance at that scene. And we do it from time to time with the mobile dash cams. So it's nothing new for us just to incorporate body-worn cameras. Agency transparency. I'll say this. We want, as much as we say it's the Kingston Police Department, it is the city of Kingston and the community of Kingston's police department. We will police the city the way the community wants it policed. If the community asks the mayor's office, we'd like to see officers on bikes, we'll get officers on bikes. Sergeant Zell and Lieutenant Bonds oversee the bike patrol unit in Kingston. We'll get officers trained so they're more visible. If you want walking posts, that's what we do. We serve the community. We recognize that. So for us, this is just another method or mechanism to be more transparent in how we police our community. Officer performance. One key component for us administratively is to go back and verify that officers are following procedures and policies as outlined in the department manual. Our manual is 4 inches thick, 900 and some pages. You know, there's a lot of do's and do nots. Well, officers have a lot of freedom when they're out on the street. I'm only there 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, well, sometimes 12 hours a day, but Monday through Friday, you know, we're 24/7 police department. And officers, you know, there's one sergeant on for 7 officers. So they're able to go around the city and do what they have to do. We have auto vehicle locators or GPSs in the car. We can track motion and speed. We have mobile dash cams. So as far as accountability and transparency, I'm throwing it all out there. There are no secrets in the police department that we're not sharing with the community. We have it. Improves evidence documentation. When it comes time for court cases, as I mentioned before, just the mobile dash cam alone. Now, if someone says, I didn't go through that red light, when you go to court, if it goes to trial, now we introduce that video, and now the judge or the jury can see, yeah, there's the violation right on tape. So it's very important for us to have that. Next slide, please. Department guidelines. This is where it gets difficult. There is no set policy. I asked Detective Sergeant Robertson to be here tonight. He's going to be the supervisor implementing the body-worn camera system in Kingston. He's devised guidelines based upon a dozen, is it fair to say, a dozen different sources. Department of Justice, New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, NYPD. We've reached out for local agencies like Saugerties and Ellenville that have had use of them, that are incorporating different policies. So there is no set guidelines. But what we do know is we need a policy when interacting with the public in a law enforcement capacity. there are times that that camera is not going to be on. And it's not by our recommendation, it's the recommendation of the experts. I can tell you without exaggeration, there are books put out on body-worn camera systems yet. Places that have them, that want to get them, that are waiting for funding, and it depends on the structure of the department as well. So when it's interacting with the public in a law enforcement capacity, an officer's not going to have it on at the beginning of the shift and turn it off. First, the storage would be ridiculous. We just don't have a mechanism to store that much data. But anytime there is interaction with the public, the officer will have it on. But then there's times the officer will turn it off. We have a pilot program now, as the mayor mentioned, where an officer is wearing the camera while on duty. But there are some times, and I'll give you a quick for instance, when interviewing a victim of a certain crime, maybe possible sexual assault, that is not being recorded. So there is a small bit of discretion that an officer has. And administratively, we review that. Right? So again, without boring you with some of the details on this, activation and deactivation has to be outlined. When does an officer turn it on, and when can an officer, or should an officer, turn it off? Because it is, as the Reverend mentions, it's a mechanism controlled by human hands. The officer turns it on, the officer turns it off. This will evolve. We've met with representatives from Verizon, the LTE network, and they're talking about remote activation, so that a dispatcher, in case a hot call comes, can activate the video cameras remotely. They talk about acceleration and deceleration in case an officer falls or slips or gets pushed or gets into a fight and can't activate it. They can remote, I say they, dispatch can remote activate it. But this is all technology that isn't out there yet. The camera that I'm passing around right now, you can kind of get a feel for how small the unit is. But it has to be durable. Understand that, it's not always a walk around uptown Kingston or downtown Kingston or midtown Kingston that an officer's doing. Sometimes it's a foot pursuit. And that camera has to be rugged enough to maintain its integrity during that pursuit. The end of shift. I'll say this as kind of words as I can. It has to be simple. I can't have a camera where officers are plugging in cables, and it has to be a simple drop and dock. It has to be something that as soon as they put it into their system, it automatically catalogs and puts into order date, time stamp, shift, badge number, all of it. Because it's no good to us. All this data is no good to us if we can't readily find it. We need to be able to look it up. Last thing, access to files, storage, retention records. They're saying anywhere between 90 days, 4 years, as long as the case goes. There's a number of variations depending on, an officer may feel, you know what, I don't feel good about that interview, I don't think anything will come of it, but you know what, boss, could you save that? Because right now with our mobile dash cam systems, we have an automatic deletion system in place, unless an officer says, I need that for trial. So again, we're talking about, and I say this, massive amounts of storage that cost money. The servers, the hard drives, all that information comes at a cost. And we've been hoping, I have been hoping, that we get grant money, either through the state or the federal government, to help offset the cost to implement the body-worn camera system in Kingston. Next slide, please. So, without making this a sales pitch, a little bit, one of the systems that we've looked at, and I think we're going to go with right now, is this one.
Vista is
Okay.
the highest.
All right, before you hit the slide on that, or not, let's see.
Vista is the
Okay, so I'll try to fill in the blanks. So Vista HD system is made right now by a company that we currently use in our cars. Right now, WatchGuard system produces the in-car camera systems. The advantage, and I was trying to show the connection here, the advantage to going with this sole source vendor of WatchGuard is that the dash cam, the mobile body-worn camera systems and the dash cams, when they catalog, will mesh together. You will effectively see an officer's point of view with the mobile camera, with the mobile body camera, the body-worn camera they have on, and the dash cam. So again, if we can get this playing, you'll see that the dash camera has the officer approaching the vehicle, and also in the same video, half and half screen, picture-in-picture style, you'll see what the officer sees as well. So it's a big savings for us. Because the one thing, if we went with a different vendor other than WatchGuard, I'm very satisfied with the WatchGuard quality and the system that they have, is that we would need a separate system, a different system for cataloging and storage. We already bought the servers, the hard drives, the cataloging software. So I think we're good there, and the WatchGuard system seems to be a very rugged camera system. 1 second, sir. Let's see if we can. Try again, or no? Good. If not, we'll just sit right through it.
Vista is the
Okay, it's not. It was going to say it's the best, but we'll try. Next slide. Let's see if this one goes. That's not the way the video. No. I gotta tell you, it worked just fine on my laptop. I don't know. Anyway, you can go to the next slide. That's fine. So the last one, the second video in this series, was an actual officer wearing one of the body cameras. And I wanted to give you what the view is. Now, before I cover this awareness part of it, there is something that the public has to understand as far as the limitations of body-worn cameras. I don't know where it went around. But if this camera is here on me, and I'll just use this as an example, all right? I have this on patrol, whether it's on my lapel. The WatchGuard system, the Vista HD, has a two-part system. There's a plate that attaches to underneath the uniform shirt and a plate that attaches to the top. It uses magnetics and pins to connect. So it's a very secure system. But right now the camera, it's not on, so you don't have to worry about trying to
You're live. You're live.
But right now the camera is pointing at you, right? If I come up, sir, license registration. But now from the corner of my eye I see motion and I turn, and now I engage, the camera still has not picked up what my eyes have seen. So there's something that the public has to come to understand as well. Why wasn't that on camera? Because it can approach, just like that. I come up to the car and I go, sir, license registration, and I'm recording the interaction within the cab of the vehicle, and I hear, hey, and I turn, and all of a sudden it's drop it, drop it, drop it, and all you hear is the screaming or yelling on the camera itself. Until we have a system where it's here, where I turn and actually see everything, and they've tried. There was a company that had a small pencil-style camera up here. Not really rugged use for police work. It kept coming off. But understand that that's why. So that's not the excuse in or the reason behind every call, but that is something that officers have to contend with. That if the camera, even if it's fixed here through pins and magnets, when I turn my head, the recording is still pointing in this direction.
But you get the audio, right?
You can still get the audio, absolutely, absolutely. Now, as the Reverend mentioned, all of this, everything we're doing, the community forums, the interaction, all of this, is an effort so that if we have an event in Kingston that calls into question the integrity of me as the chief, the police department as a whole functioning body within the city, or any officer, I believe that we have opened up lines of communication where at least before anything erupts, we can have a meeting, discuss it in-house, and even though we may not be able to allow you to share that information outside the scope of putting your minds at ease, you can go back and say, hold on, we're looking into it. Don't do anything, let's see what's going on with this. At least that level of communication will buy us time to do what we have to do. So that's what I feel is the better part of this, the transparency, the accountability, right? Because we're not hiding from this technology, we're embracing it. We want it, I want it. I'll wear it every day, I'll just be looking at a phone or a computer screen most of the time, but it's there. But we need something that's rugged, protects the interests of the department, the officers, and the community. It needs to be that way. So, I know we talked about it a little bit before, but this is the final product. What to do when stopped by police. The other forums I've talked about, the meetings that we've had with the NYCLU, and we put together a localized version of a card that we plan on handing out. Sergeant Zell's already put together some locations where officers themselves will be putting them into pamphlet holders. We've designed it so it's easy to read. It goes on top of a visor. It's in Spanish and in English. And it gives you a very basic breakdown and allows you to use your phone through a QR code to actually go to the NYCLU site for more information. So there's nobody in this room or anybody in this city that can say, we're hiding from this stuff. We're not. We want the public to be aware. When we talk about citizen-civilian or police interaction and awareness, this is one component, and we're out there handing this stuff out. So please, there's plenty of them here. Please take one, hand them out. We're going to start putting them throughout the city anyway. Next one, please. Involvement. We have a Citizens Police Academy coming up. I know Lieutenant Bonds has to leave in a few minutes, but if you want to discuss that, go over it real quick. I know Lieutenant Bonds is in charge of the program, both our in-house training and admin stuff, and he's put together a couple of these Citizens Police Academies and great success.
We're actually on session 8 of the Citizens Police Academy. I have flyers up here and applications. But what the Citizens Police Academy is, it's an opportunity for members of the community to come get a glimpse at local law enforcement. What we have to offer, what we have to offer as an agency, what our neighboring agencies have to offer. We start each session with what we call the Meet the Chief half hour or so. Sometimes they take an hour on us. 63 minutes. What we try to do is bring in an agency head from each of the local agencies to speak for about a half hour, talk about their department, their services, field any questions you have. You know, not just the police departments. We've had the attorney's office there. We've had crime victims, probation, anybody that wants to come be part of this. We encourage all local agencies to come be part of it. But the rest of the time, it's a 6 to 9 p.m. meeting every Monday night for about 10 weeks. We're going to start April 18th. We're going to end June 27th. We're going to be meeting at 6 o'clock each night at the KCSU, the Kingston Center at SUNY Ulster, the former Sophie Finn site. We have a classroom set up there. Every week there's a different topic. We'll start with law enforcement selection, recruitment and training, some of the basics of law enforcement. The next week we'll go into, say, traffic safety, accident reconstruction. The following week will be investigations, narcotics investigations. The next week is specialized units. We'll have K9 SWAT. We'll have all of the equipment out there. We'll bring SWAT trucks and dogs and do demonstrations. And we have a forensic, I don't know what the word is for it. She makes all the sketches and recreates forensic evidence for us. She'll come in and do a demonstration for us. We'll have a tour of the Ulster County Jail. We'll have a tour of the County 911 Center. Really, just about anything we have in local law enforcement will be open for everybody in the public to see. We'll have personnel from each of those jurisdictions, each of those agencies, all the different services out there, so you can ask them very specific questions. It's not instructional. It really is just informational. It's designed to have dialogue. We've had a lot of success with the program. The last probably 3 or 4 years, almost a third of our attendees are repeat attendees. We have a couple that have been to, I think, maybe all 8 sessions. And it's a testament to what we're doing because they keep wanting to come back, but it's also something new every time. You know, there's different initiatives, there's different things going on out there, and we'll try to save the last week or two for things that you might want. So, although the schedule may say one thing, if by week 2 or week 3 you say, I'd really like to meet the SROs, or I'd really like the opportunity to speak to the Public Defender's Office, or whatever it is, we'll try to arrange that and bring that in for you. So, that's kind of the short of it. If you go to our Police Department Facebook page or the Academy Facebook page, there's more information. There's pictures from previous classes. But the flyers are here and the nomination letters are here. I just want to clarify on that. You'll see on the nomination letter that it asks for law enforcement endorsement. You're not getting hired, you're not gonna have the drill instructor screaming at you, it's nothing like that. We quite simply put that piece on there because really the main purpose of this the Citizens Police Academy is to foster relations between the community and the police departments. And we want that to start by you bringing the application to a local law enforcement agency to have them endorse it. They're not doing background checks, it's really nothing like that, it's just, hey, this is who I am, and it fosters the opportunity for a conversation about something positive before this happens with your local agency. And if you have any questions or any problems, please call me, my phone number is all over the flyer.
How much is it?
It's free.
Ah.
It's free to the public, and please invite other people, and don't feel like if you're there, you sign up, and I know I can't make weeks 3 and 4 that you're not going to do it. If you miss a few weeks, you miss a few weeks. Come back next year if you want to pick that up. There's no attendance requirement or nothing like that. Yes, sir.
How long has this program been in effect, and what has the community response to that been?
The people that have attended have loved it. I keep getting emails back, when are you doing again? Unfortunately, I don't think that we've gotten the amount of people there that we've ever really wanted. We've been doing it now for 9 years. This is session 8. We had 1 year that we didn't do it. We had staffing problems that we just couldn't pull it off. Because it is free, it takes a lot of volunteer time from a lot of people and a lot of agencies to put together. But this will be the 9th year that we've done it.
And it is a cooperative effort, not only between law enforcement of the county, but also the Ulster County Community College. We rely on them for the resources as well. So it really is a great opportunity to see how your police department and the police departments around us prepare. Because you'll get the opportunity to actually talk about that.
Can you talk about the database that you just purchased regarding the company that owns it and the integrity of it?
Okay. I'll address that in a second. Let me just finish up with, make sure I'll get back to that. So with the, I know you got to get going, so.
One more question.
Okay.
I don't have a question, actually. I just want to comment that I attended the academy when I first moved to Kingston 5 years ago, and it was very informative, and I very much appreciated the whole idea and concept, and I learned a lot, and learned a lot about the law enforcement in Kingston. So I encourage it, and I strongly affirm your work with the academy, so with Citizens Academy.
I will say one thing. I was looking at the slide up there that shows the use of force discussion. Well, actually, because that is such a critical topic for us, that's actually going to be 2 full weeks. We'll have the first week of use of force will be classroom. There'll be some presentation, a lot of dialogue. We actually have the department chair from SUNY Ulster present. One of the professors from SUNY Ulster present on the criminal justice piece and the use of force part of it. And then the following week we run through FATS firearms training simulator scenarios like you see in the picture. And we'll give you simulated weapons, not just firearms. We have a whole variety of weapons and put you into use of force scenarios that are recreations of things that have happened on the street, so you can kind of see the dynamics and the speed at which things happen and some of the human reactions to things when they happen, and you'll be able to experience it in a very safe environment. So, yes, sir.
Would this be appropriate for high school students?
We just ask if we have a high school student that a parent or guardian attend with them. We don't want anybody under 18. There may be some discussions that maybe as a parent they wouldn't want the child here, particularly when we get into the forensics and some of that kind of stuff. But we've had a number of 14 and 15-year-olds and even smaller, but as long as their parents are there with them.
Have you been successful in attracting people from all over the community, all sections, all neighborhoods?
We've had a pretty good mix. The problem is, again, I think the advertisement. There's no paid advertisement. Everything's free and donation.
Right.
What we have had is a variety of people from retired folks to the young folks. We've actually recruited from the Citizens Academy. In addition to the Citizens Academy, we run a police academy as well out of the same building. And I've had, I think, 3 or 4 students now that came through the Citizens Academy and then signed up and came through the police academy following that as well.
Great.
It's an opportunity, right? We talk about these forums. Here's another, and even if you get there, and as the lieutenant points out, you can't make every one, but you look at the schedule and you're, boy, that one about decision making is a good one, or I want to know more about school resource, or we've had where the group itself has said, can you bring somebody in who's an expert in internet crimes or internet discussions to make our kid, we're worried about the kids having internet access, and so we'll bring somebody in from a local agency that specializes in and talks about making sure that your computers and whatnot are safe at home. It limits that access. So it really is your Citizens Police Academy, and we have changed it from over the last couple of years to conform more to what our, because at the end we ask for an evaluation. What would you like to see? What do you think that should have been in it? And how can we make this better? But really, again, an opportunity, sir.
Could you tell us how many people participated in this program in the last year?
The one we did last year, we had 29. We had 29 participants.
Could you tell us how many of them were minorities or?
I don't have those numbers, but certainly we can look into that, absolutely. There is very limited registration data, per se. You'll see on the application letter, that's all you're going to fill out. I'm not going to ask for a whole lot of, so there's no real compilation of data.
So how do you recruit people? How do you?
Just like this. This is it. We put it out on the Facebook. We advertise it all over the college campus. There's several college professors that put it out there. Actually, our biggest form of recruitment has been prior students. So they get an email blast, hey, we're doing this again. Tell your friends and family. And again, with the suggestion. I'll tell you one thing that happened, and this is how I know that the sessions are going pretty well. Last year, it's scheduled from 6 to 9. Every night we were there till 10. And a couple times the janitors came and, you know, oh, they got one more question, you know. So I know it's going well because people are there on their own time, volunteering their time. The instructors are there volunteering, and we're there overtime every time.
Well, my concern is how are you recruiting in Midtown neighborhood area as opposed to
That's what we're asking for you folks. That's what we're asking for the community. That's what we are.
And that's why this type of form, this type of setting is good.
Perfect.
Because if I heard you right, it's been a lot of years that it has been done.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I would love to do it, actually.
And group sizes between, I think lowest we run was 20. We've had as high as 35, 40. In the, you know, the room's big enough to hold 50 people, right? So we don't have any problem with the room size. Some come, sometimes there's, like Lieutenant said, there's people that come back just for this class. You know, they want more about the decision making because there's certain areas that the public is not aware of. And again, we're not sharing secrets here. This is all open stuff that we're going to be talking about. And ask any question you want. You know, these are your cops that are in front of you talking about what they do every day. And, you know, we had a woman, I still remember the time, this was 4 or 5 years ago now, kind of looked inside and, well, boy, the back of that car looks a little tight with the cage and the seat. And I'm like, well, yeah, put your hands behind your back, let me handcuff you, and then try to squeeze in there. So they got a better idea of what it's like to actually be in the back of a patrol car. You know, so, and again, I'm not asking anyone to do that, but when you start to look, you go, I never noticed that, you know, look at the way it's constructed or why the cage is built that way. So there's a lot of information out there.
We have one more question, I assume, about
I have somewhat of a comment, if I can, Chief. I want to piggyback on your question to them. How do we put this out there? Well, I feel like you. I heard about this before because I attend so many meetings. My life is. You understand. You all understand. I'm always in meetings, so I hear about this, and I harass people so much because I know people of color, people that are white, people that are green, they live with these things now. So I harass people, and word of mouth is how we get things out there. So we as people in the community have to be responsible and participate in things like this, number one. Number two, we have to actually, if we want to protect ourselves and we want to protect people that we're concerned with, that we love, we have to utilize, well, any means. Teenagers, young kids, I hit them with this. The poor pastors, I harass you to death with this phone. I'm sorry. Even the chief, I harass with this phone. Because we are responsible to be involved, and we have to actually find out what's available. Like, I'm sitting here taking notes, like things, you're probably going to get harassed too, I'm sorry. But, and then one more, so that, in my opinion, that's a great question, because I was sitting here thinking, wow, you know, I did hear about this before, but that's because I'm in so many meetings, and that's because I'm involved in, it might have actually been at the last, one of the meetings that the police were involved in. One more thing, if you can introduce, I know he has to leave, can you introduce all the police that are here, because I think this is an incredible thing we're doing. I think, you know, this is wonderful because there's two sides of the fence, and the more interaction we have with police officers, like this officer right here, I'm sorry to put you out, he's amazing.
Yes.
He's amazing.
And newly promoted to sergeant, by the way.
He's very good for our neighborhood, and there are more. I interact with officers when I see them, whenever I see people, not just officers, people. I want you to know that I'm safe. I want to know that you're safe. So I introduce myself, or I compliment them. So if you could just let us know all the officers that are here, because I don't know them by name. I don't even know they're still
Just before you do that, Reverend Worthington, sitting right here, has been the assistant pastor in this church for the past, 10 years? 20. He's been here.
He doesn't know about it, right?
And he doesn't know about the program.
And
So
I'm not saying that's
what I'm
wrong.
trying to get at is how we are contacting people in the community to let them know about this program.
So when you leave here today, you spread, word of mouth is amazing. Because that's,
What I'm saying is that the program's been going for 8-9 years. And this is the first time we're hearing about
We
it.
put it on our Facebook, we try to put it on the website, we've done the announcements, I talk about it on the radio show. I spread it the way we can, really, I mean, we figure, and the word of mouth, really, we try to send out emails on it. But now, I know.
Maybe if you took some of these flyers and gave them to the officers rather than the cars, they can hand them out in the community. So more people in our community, where we live at,
For yourself.
can know about the program.
I think one of the things is that everybody got to be proactive about it. You want everybody in there. The reality of it is everybody don't live in our neighborhood, so it's up to us to take them and distribute it in our neighborhoods. That's the reality of it.
And it's a great forum because
There's also, in addition to the Facebook pages, if you go to the city's website, they're also on there. The application and the flyer are also on there too. So let everybody know, please, as many applications as we can get. We want to fill this thing. The presenters are going to be there whether there's 20 people or 50 people. I'd rather get the message to 50 and then get enough interest that we get 50 more next time, because it is a good book. And really, and I say this like on week 1 when we meet again there, it's as much of an opportunity as it is for our law enforcement agency to get, some dialogue and some information out about what we have, what our services are, what our limitations are. It's equally as important to get the feedback from the community. The discussions that are going to occur in there may help shape policy. They may help shape programs within the department. So, much like we're doing here, the difference is it's a very focused. Tonight we're just talking about traffic enforcement. Tomorrow night we're just talking about special services or whatever it is. But it is a good opportunity for that.
So any person or organization that has a Facebook page could share
Yes,
the
please
post
do.
from, and that would be a good way, for anyone who wants to spread the information about it.
Please do. We posted it on the Facebook page a few weeks ago with that actual flyer up. But what I'll do is within the next couple days, I'll repost it and put it back at the top of the page so that it's fresh after this conversation. And it'll link it right to the Academy Facebook page as well.
And so anybody that wants to go home and look for it, that you can share it.
You can take a picture with your phone and text it if you want. I mean, it's right here. If you want to take me holding it up.
I got you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Freeman for announcing the program.
They haven't, but perhaps they would. The one issue we have with this particular program, because it's free in all aspects, it's free to attend, everybody's volunteering their time, there's no funding for advertising. So that makes it a little bit of a challenge.
There is free announcements.
We have reached out for them in the past, and usually the college follows up on it.
Yeah.
They do it through their announcements.
And they actually run it through the whole college network.
And they actually have done stories on this. The Daily Freeman has come in and taken photographs and sent their photographers in, and sometimes it's just a caption, but they do cover the CPA. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm not being sarcastic, but the Freeman does not really, many people from the neighborhood that these questions are coming from don't really read the Freeman. That's why when many of us find out about events, we don't get it from the Freeman. That's just my opinion. I mean, whenever there's a function that I want to get people to, word of mouth, hand to hand is how it happens best. I don't think people would get it that way. Then I think the focus is on at this time.
I would just like my answer, or my question answered as far as the information regarding the database and the integrity of that system.
Okay, so you're talking about WatchGuard, the company that we're using for the mobile dash cams and
the database specifically. I want to know Yeah, the database, the information that you get, the evidence. My concerns is the police tampering with that evidence.
Okay.
When it cuts to the chase.
Excellent. So now we have a camera, we put it into the drop dock, and it sends the information. Now the system, it is localized. The server and the information is hours and hours alone. There is no way, none at all, that the original file can be tampered with. It is designed by the company for that, and we can take it out with a copy and edit it. For instance, we have a video where it's 2 hours long, and we want to just show the incident itself. We can do that for demonstration purposes, but for evidentiary purposes, the entire file
Goes to the watchdog?
no, stays in-house and is protected within the server that WatchGuard has. WatchGuard doesn't have access to our system. There is no access through WatchGuard.
Okay, so you talked about, now, there was an incident in Chicago where a young man was lessened with a knife, and they had on a dash cam. And you're saying that, you know, this goes right into a database? What's so different from yours than the one in Chicago?
In Chicago?
Yeah.
I think he's talking about when the guy was walking down the street with the knife, holding the knife.
Oh, okay, yeah, the incident that happened, yep. The system itself, I mean, that's a mobile dash cam that took that video. This integrates with the mobile dash cam, and all that information gets stored on our server locally. So I'm not sure what the question is as far as...
So as far as it's stored,
yeah.
What's different with your, you know, cameras than the cameras in Chicago? Basically, they work the same way. What is different than yours that we should trust that the officers having cameras, but we see through America, officers having cameras, and it's always a different story. That people are taking videos, they're seeing the videos. So what's the difference of these officers having the cameras on, than me filming it?
Yeah.
And might see two different stories.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is which one would you believe?
Which one?
We should believe.
If an incident occurs, and an officer has a body-worn camera system, and an officer has a mobile dash cam, and you're standing on the sidewalk recording that incident, all that information becomes evidentiary. And at that point, if there's any misconduct on the officer's part, or a grand jury has to review it because it's a use of force issue, then the decision is made based upon a body of citizens and not the department. That investigation is turned over with all the evidence for someone else to review and come to a conclusion.
Okay.
But we don't have the capability, to answer your question, to edit or alter that video.
It's going to a database by Watchdog, a server a server that you guys have.
It never leaves our headquarters. That information remains on the server, is cataloged, and remains as part of our system.
Gotcha.
The component I just touched on a little bit of how long it stays on the server is something we set up based upon retention records, statutes and recommendations. But if an officer knows that this is going to go to trial, or there's going to be some question about the conduct or the behavior of the officer or the incident, then we can retain that. We can tag it and leave it on the server indefinitely.
And what's that statute, that time that you said that you...
It depends. If we know that this incident is going to go to trial, we tag it and hold it indefinitely. It never gets erased. If not, if it's just I wear this thing 8 hours and I have it on for 4, and nothing happens. I just drive around, I stop a car, I issue a warning, and there's nothing on here, right? Nothing that comes up. There's nothing questionable in my day-to-day activities during that day. Then within 90 days, after 90 days, that gets erased.
Who erases it?
That's based upon recommendations of DOJ, New York State. Those are the ones that make that.
But who authorizes, say for instance, when an incident happens, who authorizes that to be deleted? I think that's what people are looking at.
What I'm saying, there's no, it's...
Or released.
Right.
Chicago was a year before the people saw the video.
Okay.
So
if you're talking about an incident involving use of force, the police department is going to be looked at, and especially now, Cuomo has a new investigative body that we've already met with, right, that will investigate that area of force. It takes it out of the district attorney's hands.
So you have that information available?
They will come down and secure it as evidence. That is correct. They will determine what gets released.
That's before you or the police department reviews it.
We can still review it, but evidentiary, they take the information. We can review it, we can't alter it.
Okay.
Whatever's on that video is on that video. We can't say, ooh, delete. We can't do that.
Yeah, but when's the point where that you can actually delete that? In other words,
What I'm saying is, if we have an incident, it will automatically delete after 90 days.
Okay.
Okay, because that's the standard set forth.
So, no,
In some cases, it's 6 months.
Say for instance, Officer Zell records something.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And, say 30 days from now.
Yep.
Okay, they question his behavior.
Yep. Click.
Prior to that, can that officer go in there and delete that?
The officers have no access to videos.
No officer can
The
go.
officers have no access. The only thing the officers can do, and they can do it now, is view the video. So now, without the body worn, let's take the body worn cameras out of the system. Mobile dash cam. I stop a car, license, registration. I come up to the car, the officer says, sir, I really need to see your license, and there's an exchange, right? At that point, the officer can go back and review the video, but he can't, or she can't alter it. They can't do anything to it. It automatically offloads into our system, gets cataloged and saved. The officer will then go to the supervisor and say, hey boss, you gotta do me a favor, I think this one's gonna go to trial, can you save it? And the sergeant then clicks on it and saves that video.
So if he doesn't say save it, then it's not saved.
It's saved, no, it's saved automatically for 90 days.
Okay.
After that, it gets deleted. So, but within 90 days, we will know whether or not the video has to be saved.
And what about your prior system?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What about your prior system that you have? Do the officers have access to that?
No.
Or- no.
They have access to view, not to edit or delete.
Who has access to edit or delete?
There's no one has access to edit. No,
How
no.
about the old system? though?
Well, there is no old system. This is the only system we have.
We better.
We have the watch guard system, and it's the only system we have.
Okay.
It's a lot of questions. We gotta-
Yeah, no, I know, this is a question of integrity on behalf of the police department, right? That's what this is. So,
We know why, what I'm asking, and
right, can I delete a video that's, oh boy, that's bad, let me delete it, right?
I'm just asking about your old system and what processes that you have in place, and the integrity of that system being tampered with.
You can't tamper with it.
That's interesting.
Can't tamper with the system.
No, nothing can be deleted.
Yes, no, not deleted, physical. Someone could take a sledgehammer to it. And at that point, everything's done.
We're going to have to move on. We
Sorry.
No, I just have one couple questions on this. Is this system, the database system, the computer, is that supplied by WatchGuard?
Yes.
So it's not, the Kingston Police Department has its own homegrown computer system
Correct.
that this feeds into. It's something that,
This is designed for cameras.
it's a total system provided by WatchGuard.
I think this is a very important question. I mean, what happens to evidence when it gets deleted? And I think decisions like that have to be made beyond the police department. I'm curious what our public defender might be thinking about this.
Well, I'll start by saying good evening, and thank you for having me. And I've been listening to all this, and I can also tell you that it's pretty rare for law enforcement and district attorneys and public defenders to agree on many things. One of the things, and I had a meeting this past Monday, I guess, just yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. With members of the New York State Bar Association, the District Attorneys Association of the State of New York, and the Innocence Project, Barry Scheck, many of you know him. All of us were in the same room, and one of the things we agreed on is recording identification procedures, recording interrogations, and recording, using body cams. And the second part of that is retention of records. Because if something, if a felony, again, this is all an evolving area right now. But if in fact a felony arrest is made, we might not have access to that recording until 6 months, 7 months later, because the district attorney has 6 months to indict. So we might not even know about that there's a video until we get the indictment and some, what we call disclosure about that. So 90 days to me seems insufficient unless the defense bar, the defenders, whether it's a public defender or private defense counsel, has some notification. If we were notified at time of arrest that there is a video, and all I have to do is send a letter to the department saying, please preserve that video, and it will be preserved, then I'm okay. But we have to have notice, because if I find out, and this does happen, 6 months later, oh, there was a camera, there was a video, but it's been deleted, that doesn't do anybody any good. So I think there's a lot going on in this area right now. This is an evolving area. That's why we had a meeting on Monday. Things were discussed, just to digress a little bit. An example is law enforcement said, well, if the victim of a crime doesn't want to be videotaped during a lineup, we want the victim to be able to veto the recording, because that will chill, in their view, that will chill the victims from wanting to participate. I don't want to be recorded maybe that bad guy that I'm picking out will then know who I am early in the process. They might know at trial, but early in the process, the district attorneys and law enforcement said, look, we won't disclose your identity until we absolutely have to. So they'll lose victims, they'll lose cooperating witnesses. That was one of the conversations that went on yesterday during this meeting, because they were all, and we're like, well, everybody's used to being recorded. We have to keep our eye on the ball. The most important thing for me is the integrity of the evidence. And so I want that person to say, if you're going to bring charge or you're going to pick somebody out of a lineup, you have to be prepared to be recorded. And that was our, so we're trying, that one we sort of parked, just to give you an example. We put that, and we formed a subcommittee of myself and some district attorneys, the head of the New York State District, and we're going to try to come up with a creative approach to address that difference, because that was a deal breaker, quite frankly, as far as the district attorneys are concerned. So we're going to try to work it out, and that's what it is. It's an evolving process. But my concerns is the integrity of the evidence. For them, all the things the chief told you about, accountability, integrity, management, those are all important for them. But I need to make sure that the evidence we get before trial, and hopefully not the day of trial, we get it early enough so that we can meaningfully investigate that. That's all I can tell you right now. But it is a concern.
So as Mr. Costello talks about, it is evolving, right? As I mentioned before, we have been waiting. We've been looking at these body cameras over a year now in hopes that there will be definitive release of information. This is how you'll do it. We've talked to 6 different agencies in New York State, and each of them have different guidelines. No one is set. So if the guidelines come through and the recommendations of this committee say, you're holding it for a year, we'll hold it for a year. If it says for 2 years, the mechanism then at that point isn't about the storage, isn't about the deletion or the editing. That's not what calls in question. It's about the financial issues involved with maintaining the massive amounts of storage that are going to be required. You know as well as I do, it doesn't take long to fill a couple of gig on your phone with video. So imagine now you have 7 officers every shift recording 4 hours of video a day, and dual now, body worn and mobile. So there's a lot of stuff going on and maintaining that equipment. This is about a year old. The company's released 2 other versions of this camera in that time. A year. 2 different versions.
Like Apple.
It's amazing. So even the watch guard, there's company, Taser International, I'm not trying to sell them either, but Taser International, they talk about a 3-year lease, because in 3 years the technology's gone. The first system we tried, we gave it to our emergency services unit to try out, was that pencil mount that goes around the head and the glasses and the helmets, and they've abandoned that. That technology no longer works, so now they've gone with the Axion systems and body worn, and now it's gotten smaller and